Private cellular networks are expected to play a significant role in future on-premise connectivity, but where they are best suited is still unclear. What are the different opportunities and strategies for enterprises looking to take advantage of the capabilities that private cellular offers? I'm Guy Daniels, Director of Content at TelecomTV, and joining me on the programme to discuss how best to navigate this private cellular maze are Rodrigo de Faria Custodio, who is Business Development Manager at Dell Technologies, Nick Ross, who is Senior Director and Lead Architect, Intel Smart Edge Division at Intel, TJ Fauna, Business Development at Commscope, and Ajitesh Gupta, who is Senior Director 5G Solutions at HCL. Welcome everyone, thanks for taking part in the discussion today. Rodrigo, could you tell us more about your solution and also what each of your partners is contributing?
Of course, thanks for having me here. We have been working with Commscope and the Intel Smart Edge team for more than a year, developing the solution, and more recently we have also started working with HCL. So basically the solution will bring an as-a-service private mobility solution to the enterprises. I would like to say what each of the different partners is bringing. So Commscope and Workers, they are bringing the radio access network element, so the access points, and the SAS element as well. That's very important, more specifically for CBRS. Intel Smart Edge team is bringing the MAC elements and the EPC core. Dell is actually providing the servers, switches, and we are also creating the as-a-service model with, for instance, DFS, Dell Financial Services, to create more flexible transaction models to the enterprises. And finally, HCL is bringing the end-to-end services capabilities from the design, installation, delivery, and support. But I'll let Ajitesh describe in more details what their role is. So basically, it's an end-to-end solution to be consumed as a service by the enterprise that will address some of the concerns and requirements that they have.
And what are you hearing from your customers regarding the market drivers for private cellular and edge computing?
They are requesting an affordable solution. They want flexibility. So they want the solution to support different deployment models, different charging models. The most common is the ability to pay on a monthly basis without commitment, for example. But the other thing that one of the key elements that they expect is reliability, better control of the data that's generated by the enterprise, and security. Security came up in many surveys we have done as the top priority of the enterprise, and the solution definitely addresses that. It's one of the core elements of our solution.
And Nick, security is top of mind with enterprises, as Rodrigo mentioned earlier. What specific security is built into this solution?
Well, thank you for the question, and thank you for having me on this panel. When we look at moving workloads to an edge computing platform, and we're looking to take the advantages of a private wireless solution and extend to enterprise, we're solving new problems in new locations. And the security of the platform is elevated just by the nature of taking things outside the normal data center. And when we look at the overall platform, the strength of it is about the defense in depth and multi-layered security that goes throughout the system. So you have the physical protections of the system, such as Intel Boot Guard, Secure Boot, and TXT, into the software levels that handle attestation and the protection of the applications using technologies like SGX. But then we layer on top of that all the technologies that have been developed over the years through 3GPP and taking that investment and that development and those learnings and applying it now to the transport protection and what's offered to the enterprises in these new solutions and new capabilities. So security is not any one element. It's really a combination of multiple levels of technology integrated together. But with those different components and all these elements tied together, it can't come with extra complexity. So really the simplicity of the platform and the elegance of how the security from a firmware level all the way up to a software level and a platform level, how that's all integrated inherently into the platform is really an important differentiator. If it's not usable, then the platform is going to be vulnerable to other kinds of exploits as people introduce workarounds to make it usable. So the platform security also has a dimension of usability that is an important feedback or area of feedback that we receive from industry colleagues and peers and partners.
Thanks, Nick. And Rodrigo?
Yes, just to on the security point, just to illustrate, one of the participants in a recent interview, interview that we have conducted as part of our market research is the plant manager in an auto manufacturer. And he said that his quote was that they don't even allow data to get out of the plant. They are wary of the data even getting to other plants. So for some companies, right, some enterprises, they really need to make sure that the data that's generated there remains local. And in other industries, there are also issues of compliancy. And so hence their interest in a private solution that has the edge capability to generate and process the data on the premise so that the data doesn't get out.
Nick, you want to come back on that point?
Yeah, when we look at these different technologies, we're introducing private wireless to the enterprise and making it much more accessible. And in doing that, we're also allowing new devices and new portions of infrastructure and OT to be connected. And a lot of times those systems were built with different assumptions in mind. So providing the performance and capacity that the solution offers also comes with the need to protect those assets. And the data tenancy that Rodrigo mentioned is really important for those systems where there's already an assumption of locality that's managed just because it's isolated. So we're increasing access, we're increasing capacity, but we're still protecting the boundaries of what the enterprise needs to maintain.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's move on. TJ, let's look at wireless for a moment. Is Wi-Fi 6 a complementary technology? And what are some of the key factors in determining which access technology to actually leverage?
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for having me as well, guys. That is a fantastic question that gets asked all the time by our customers too, as they're making plans today to transition out to Wi-Fi 6, upgrade their networks. And from the enterprise IT infrastructure, our conversation comes back around all the key things that my group of colleagues here are saying. Is we believe Wi-Fi is absolutely going to be a key factor in your enterprise IT networks. We're not trying to replace it. We believe that these private networks with CBRS frequencies and LTE technology are not there to replace it. It's truly there to be a complementary product. It's there to really leverage and lean in on some of the key factors of what LTE and the 3GPP technology brings, or standards bring. They bring the greater reliability. They bring a higher amount of security with SIM-based authentication, so that every end device is only connecting to the network if it has a registered SIM associated with that private network. And there's also that factor of mobility. More and more customers that are finding these key applications of mobility are a big factor. Automated robots inside of manufacturing facilities or distribution houses are looking at Wi-Fi may not be the best solution for robots that have to continually transport goods across the factory floor. You take that inherent ability of what LTE was designed for, having greater mobility, and it gives them a more seamless type solution. So when it comes to that access capability, we really believe that an enterprise customer is going to have all of these technologies in their facility to solve all their business problems. They're going to have their Wi-Fi and they're going to evolve it to Wi-Fi 6. We're going to give them another layer with CBRS in a private network, which will operate and function just like, give them the capabilities that they have from their Wi-Fi, where, like Rodrigo was saying, they can get the data from their end devices into their enterprise network. It doesn't have to leave their facility, coming across an Intel MEC type solution. And then on top of that, they can also layer on top public cellular networks in there as well to solve all of their business problems. And with us sitting at the 3.5 gigahertz band and being protected there, it gives a perfect mid-band spectrum for the enterprise customer to really utilize this private network, integrate it into their existing IT network with Wi-Fi, LAN, all their capabilities, and bring it back to a common place where they're running multiple different applications. So we really do see it as a fantastic complementary product to be for IT enterprise decision makers to be bringing into their portfolio to solve their bigger business problems.
Thanks, TJ. And Rodrigo, do you want to pick up on the Wi-Fi angle?
Yes, I fully agree with TJ. I also believe they are complementary technologies. And I think most enterprises, they are asking themselves, do I really need private cellular? Do I already have Wi-Fi? And that's a question that deserves a lot of attention and thought. And we wanted to not address the technology first, but the business first, right? So go into the enterprise and helping them assess exactly what they need based on their business needs, based on the use cases, is the first thing that we do, right? So go there, do a benefits assessment, help them understand at what point Wi-Fi is not addressing their needs and they would need private LTE or private 5G. So this is the first thing that we do. So the consulting aspect, and I'm very happy that HCL has those capabilities, of helping the customers understand, right? From starting from a business question, right? What is the best technology for them?
Great. Well, Ajitesh, let's follow up on those points. What does the deployment of the service actually look like? Is it a turnkey delivery? And what are the responsibilities of the enterprise for its deployment?
So deployment engagement with enterprises depend on where the end customer are in their private network journey. We divide into three different categories. First, what we call is white field. Second one is what we call as green field, and third one is what we call is brown field. White field is one a scenario where enterprise customers are still not sure if private network makes sense or not. In that scenario, the company like SCL as an SI, what we do is we provide the strategy consulting kind of engagement. It's pretty pointed engagement that we have where we do the analysis and let them know if private network is going to help them out or not. Greenfield is our sweet spot, and that's where it turns out to be a turnkey engagement where we help our enterprises to find out what infrastructure makes sense for them, what use cases, the best of the big use cases and applications that would help them in improving their productivity, in reducing the cost of operations, and in automating, in deploying the infrastructure. Brownfield is one area. It becomes more like what the enterprise customers is looking for. And that is a scenario where enterprise have already made a decision. They already have taken few steps in identifying the right infrastructure partners, few of the use cases, and they come to us and say, hey, do you want to design and implement a new use case? Or they will say, hey, we're looking for a managed services provider who can help them support the infrastructure, provide the operation so that their release, their upgrade, their tech support could be improved and can be supported 24/7. So that's how I categorize the different kind of engagement model, starting from a very pointed consulting engagement to the turnkey solutions where we bring everything with our partners and complemented with our SCL services.
Thank you. And Nick, it's very apparent that the ecosystem plays a significant part of this solution. Can you talk about the ISV ecosystem, what it looks like?
So thank you for the question. We have a very large set of different ISV partners that we work with, and the 4 companies represented on this panel bring a tremendous amount of credibility to the solution. But you have also almost 400, over 400 partners, network builder partners from Intel, each with very powerful solutions that can be brought to bear and leveraged in this overall platform and solution. So the power of edge computing and the ability to use private wireless is about taking workloads and use cases that previously have not had the proper infrastructure to be able to meet the needs of the business. And so we're looking at new ways to solve new business problems. And this is where really the partner ecosystem really comes in and shines. That the power of the solution is in the kinds of application workloads that are being landed on these platforms. The multi-access part of multi-access edge computing is also indicative of the fact that it's a combination of the best technologies for the right purpose. So there's a very clear area where private wireless, CBRS, for example, provides great opportunities for coverage for systems and topologies and infrastructure that otherwise didn't have a clear access strategy. So it's really combining multiple technologies together, both at the infrastructure level and at the access level and at the application level. And that's really enabled by the ecosystem. The solutions that are available that can be layered on top of the platform to provide that value. And in some cases, enterprises already have a very clear idea of what they want to do and take advantage of this. There's very much untapped potential that we just need to provide the keys to enable. But there's other areas where there's tremendous ingenuity and creativity from the ecosystem partners that are enabling fantastic new opportunities for creativity in many different verticals.
Ajitesh, do you have any specific solution use cases for the solution? Which industries do you feel are a good fit?
Yes, so we do have more than 20 use cases based on what industry verticals we are targeting at. There are a few use cases that are applicable to multiple different industry verticals. But we are very conscious about what industry we want to go after with our private network based on what we are hearing from the industry in terms of adoption rate. For example, manufacturing is in our top list. Apart from manufacturing, oil and mines is another area. Healthcare is another industry that we are targeting at. Utility segment, that's pretty important for us also. Then warehouse and logistics, that's another industry vertical that's showing interest in the private network. But there are a few use cases which are very industry specific that SCL has built and deployed commercially. For example, we have developed remote manufacturing insights use case on private network. And what it does is it creates a great detail of visibility into all the various things inside any factory setup so that there would be a real-time monitoring, real-time problem detection, and real-time notifications to address any issues, challenges that has direct impact on productivity or the revenue or the health of the workers inside the factory. That's one use case I thought I'll just mention over here. There is another use case that we have developed for the energy sector, that is the the energy sector, where the wind turbine failure detection could be done in few seconds, and that's another use case that SCL believes there is a good opportunity for us, and there are multiple discussions which are in progress. In a very similar way, we have developed a use case for the healthcare, the remote patient monitoring, and we have started seeing the interest from a few of our healthcare customers who believe this will add to their value add, and this is going to reduce their cost to monitor and manage the patients. There are a few rules and policies that every healthcare comes out with in terms of monitoring and taking care of their patients. And this remote patient monitoring use case is pretty helpful in monitoring their patients in real time, just to make sure any action that needs to be taken immediately could be done from some central location, and also raise any alarm if any not so great things are happening with the patients. And we have seen this use case very, very helpful and much needed for the healthcare.
And TJ, we have spoken already about the many different types of technology that are available, but can you talk about how these different access technologies, including CBRS, SAS or spectrum availability, might enable these different use cases? Does the use case drive the choice of access technology?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. We've touched on this a little bit across the board, and we've enabled with CBRS. And I'll talk a little bit about the value of what CBRS is bringing and the key function behind the key building block, the spectrum access system, is for the first time, enterprises, ISVs, entrepreneurs have a capability of leveraging LTE technology and being able to get spectrum to run that LTE technology across, and spectrum that's in a prime position at 3.5 gigahertz, like we talked about a little bit earlier. And what that's doing for the ecosystem, like everybody's talking here, is now all of a sudden the ecosystem is starting to take note of that. And they're like, wait a second, I've got LTE technology. I can go anywhere within the United States where the FCC has authorized this CBRS frequency band, 150 megahertz, capable or available to anybody that wants to stand up a CBRS private network using CBRS. And now I can start to develop some of my applications using all the benefits that LTE has with it. Like we discussed, and I'll always go back to these because these are the pillars of the value of LTE. Reliability of your connection, security of your connection, greater mobility. One thing we didn't touch on either was coverage, but all of that comes back down to the use cases. And what we've done, and what the OnGo Alliance has done, and what the FCC has done by opening up this spectrum for us and putting a tool in the background, the SAS or Spectrum Access System, is it's enabled these innovators to say, I'm ready to go solve a use case I wasn't able to go solve before, or I'm ready to make my system perform better based on, maybe I wasn't always able to keep my data local when I was running across a public cellular network, or my Wi-Fi connection didn't give me great enough coverage. And now I have a tool in my bag where I can go, stitch together a solution that solves a customer's use case with CBRS. I can keep my data local. I can reach my devices further, and I can be relied that the end-to-end security of the data going from my end device to my network is secure. So we've really, opening up this capabilities of utilizing CBRS spectrum, taking ecosystem partners like we have here today, who have stitched all the piece parts together, made it super simple and easy to operate and to deploy, and now put that into the hands of the great thinkers of wondering, what application is going to be next? What application could run better? What application can we create to solve a use case that we may not have even thought of before? But now that they know that they have the access to get this technology in their hands, I think we're going to see a lot of use cases and a lot of ISVs really continuing to join the ecosystem of private networks utilizing LTE, 5G, and CBRS spectrum. Really start to open up doors for great opportunities of things yet to come.
Thank you. So what's next, Ashutosh, for enterprises who are interested in private cellular? What should they do next? What are the next steps?
Very simple way of the next step we can think about is the various white paper, the documents, the videos that we all have created. SCL, Intel, Commscope, Dell, we all have created POCs, our point of views, white papers, we have written blogs. Our listeners can go and access those to understand if private network really makes sense for them.
And Nick, any final words of encouragement to enterprises looking at private networks?
Yeah, for those that are watching this and curious about technology, or this is a new or foreign thing, I think the power of the ecosystem that we have here is there's no better time than now to actually be able to get started and try out this technology. In every single situation where customers have to try the technology, it's been really exciting to see everyone's eyes light up at the possibilities of what they can do with it. And with this ecosystem, you can try this technology, you get started, experiment, familiarize yourself with it, and really dive into it without having to make any large commitments up front. So there's a lot of power in what's been assembled. So I'd encourage you to lean in and try it out.
Thank you. Well, thank you to all of you. That is all the time we have. Thank you all very much for taking part in the discussion today. As Ashutosh has just said, there's a lot more information available. And if you use the link in the website text below, you will be able to download an executive briefing white paper prepared by STL partners and supported by Dell and Intel. For now, though, thank you very much for watching and goodbye.